Welcome back in to CBS Sports HQ Spotlight. There's a lot of math going on this weekend when it comes to the NFL playoffs. Week 16 in the NFL playoffs, we now have 6 teams that have been eliminated. We have 4 teams that have clinched, which means everyone else is somewhere in between, including the Cowboys and the Eagles. Now, the Cowboys and the Eagles, they have both clinched a spot when it comes to the postseason. But the top of the NFC East, that is still up for grabs. The Cowboys gave the Eagles a big gift by losing to the Bills, but then the Eagles decided, you know what, we're going to lose to the Seahawks and make things just a little bit more tricky for us when it comes to the NFC East. Take a look at the odds right there. Cowboys actually the favorite to go ahead and win the NFC East. Eagles minus 270. So let's figure out how this all gets done. Let's welcome in our very good friend, Ryan Wilson. Our commercial break is not long enough for me to change out of my Santa suit, so this is what I'm staying in, Ryan. But you look good. You got the red jacket on. I got the red jacket on. Congratulations to us. Eagles, Cowboys, taking a look at the top of the NFC East here. A whole bunch of different scenarios we've got. How does each team get to this point where they could potentially win?
Amanda Claus, great to see you. Amanda Santa, also good to see you. I don't know which nickname we want to go with, but I love it. So, look, man, things are absolutely bonkers as we get down the playoff race there. Thanks for laughing at my dad joke there. But, look, here, let's go back 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, the Eagles were in first place in the NFC, had the #1 seed, cruising to home field advantage, and here we are 3 weeks and 3 losses later. Cowboys are now #1 in the NFC East. The Eagles are now #5, and a lot has gone wrong for this team. So over the final 3 weeks, if both teams win out, both the Eagles and the Cowboys, there's an opportunity that we're going to come down to the 5th tiebreaker to determine who wins that division. Both teams would be 13-4. You can see it here, and that means the first 4 tiebreakers. The head-to-head matchup, they split that. 1-loss percentage in the division, they would end up splitting that should they both go 3-0 over the stretch here over the final 3 weeks. And we get down to tiebreaker number 5 with the strength of victory. What does strength of victory mean? It essentially means the overall winning percentage of every team that the Eagles and or Cowboys have beaten. As we sit here, the Eagles have the better strength of victory winning percentage. They've had wins over the Cowboys, over Miami, the Chiefs, and the Bills, while the Cowboys have really not beaten anyone except for the aforementioned Eagles. Now they have an opportunity to right that. You could argue, Amanda, that the Cowboys have the tougher schedule. You can see it here at Miami, Detroit, and then at Washington to wrap up, while the Eagles only have to play the Giants, Cardinals, and then finish at the Giants. I think there's an opportunity that this happens. We get to tiebreaker number 5, strength of victory comes into play. I think it's more likely, Lord, take a breath, that the Eagles get a win here. They end up winning the division, and I think our guy Stephen O has them at a 73% chance to win the NFC East. But that's not fun. We want fun. We want chaos. So let's have both these teams win out and then decide it at the end with some random tiebreaker, tiebreaker number 5 as we currently sit here.
Rudolph Ryan, our I heard a lot of paper shuffling. Yeah. How long did our producer give you to go through this math?
By the way, I think producer Noah's mad at me. We've seen segments where Doyle wears his nice velvet Santa suit, Katie goes on with a computer, B-Max doing the Karate Kid reenactment, and you have your Santa suit on, and Noah's giving me math problems. Noah, I apologize for whatever I've done to you. Hopefully I can sell this segment without boring people to death with all the iterations and permutations of how your playoff team may or may not end up in the actual playoffs.
He just thinks you're the smartest one. That's what it is. He really just loves you the most. He doesn't believe in them as much. Hey, okay, let's go to the AFC South, and God bless if you're doing this one. Jags, Colts, Texans, they're all sitting there at 8-6. Now, our producer Noah told me this could come down to a coin flip. So I thought he meant like, oh, it's going to be close. No, an actual coin flip here, Ryan. How on earth is it possible these 3 teams, look, I'm going to do it, could come down to a coin flip? In that case, it is tails. Something like that. Oh, there's my Santa
you
wig.
caught it. Good. I thought you dropped it. Okay, good. There you go. So, right, we talked about the Cowboys and the Eagles having tiebreaker number 5. This could literally be tiebreaker number 12. The Jaguars are probably going to win the division. All 3 of the teams, the Texans, the Colts, and the Jags, are at 8-6 right now. But Stephen O, our guy at Sportsline, thinks the Jags probably win it. But let's go to the old math problem here. If the Texans and Colts both go 2-1 over the next 3 weeks, things get saucy, Amanda. And 2-1 specifically, that means that the Colts lose that final week 16 game there, 18 game against the Texans. And you can see it here, the Texans will lose to the Titans in week 17. We go through the previous 5 tiebreakers that we just talked about with the previous teams in the Eagles and the Cowboys. And then we have about 7 more tiebreakers to get to, which could all conceivably be split down the middle between the Colts and the Texans if they both go 2-1, as I mentioned. And that final tiebreaker, as you talked about, would be the coin flip. And unless the coin flip lands on its edge and doesn't come down off its edge, which would also be a tie, then it will decide which team probably doesn't win the division, but probably finishes second in the division. And both the Colts and the Texans currently have about a 58% chance to make the playoffs. So if you're number 2 in the division, get a little better playoff seeding as opposed to being number 3, and you might miss the playoff altogether. So I would argue that 2-1 for both teams would again be incredibly saucy. It's probably in either the Colts or the Texans' best interest to try to win out, just get into the playoffs and not have to worry about it coming down to a random coin flip down at NFL headquarters on the last day of the season.
No one wants me to do, hey, you did really well there. He wants me to do a coin. Who gets to call, like, heads or tails? Like, who calls it?
That is a great question. I don't know how that works. I feel like it's happened in the past, but I don't know. That's a question for our super nerd on Pick 6 podcast, John Breach. That's my bad for not knowing that, though.
Ryan, I actually don't know this. Who's your team? Who's your team?
Much like BMAC, I'm a Steelers fan, but I don't like to brag about it at this point in time.
Okay, we won't brag about it. Okay, coin flip if the Steelers win or lose this week. Heads or tails, Ryan?
Tails never fails, Amanda.
Except when it does. Heads. See, there you go. Except when it does. Ryan Wilson, we appreciate it. Our mathematician, he didn't even know he was a mathematician. Ryan Wilson on with Rick Spielman with the First Pick podcast, getting ready for this upcoming draft. Make sure to download and follow.